Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we are starting the Emissaries of Light spoilers. Spoiler discussions, I guess you could call it that. We've been getting a lot. Spoiler season is obviously happening and you guys are probably aware of it. Some of these have been like, you know, already been revealed and like, I don't know, I feel like so much has happened in the last few weeks since Elden Ring came out, but yeah, that game pretty much took care of a lot of my time. So anyway, we have a couple of cards here, and the rest of them are in the next video as well. So we're going to talk about all the stuff that we've seen, where I think some of these decks are going, and where they're and what it's how the meta might evolve a little bit, and just my overall thoughts on some of these cards being revealed. This set is going to be 130 cards, I believe, with like I think it said 160 or something about with premium cards plus these legacy foils of certain cards, which I'll show you next. But yeah, so. Um, Really excited for this set. I think the meta is going to make a big jump. So without talking about it more, let's get into these cards. First, we have the Black Vault. Black Vault 1, 2, and 3. This is new character addition from Mobius that we absolutely love. It's a common, rare, and legendary. So, and in that order, I would also agree their power levels are relevant to their rarity. But anyway, 3-drop. They're all 3-drop 7Ks. Category 9 Black Mages. So the Icewind here says when Black Mage is discarded, when Black Vault 1 is discarded from your hand due to an ability, choose a 4, deal it 4,000. For 0 CP, if he's on the board, you can discard Black Mage from your hand. Discard a Job Black Mage from your hand. When you do so, choose a dual forward your opponent controls and deal it 7,000. So as far as playing this one goes, I don't know how often we'll keep this one because the extenuating has to be dull ability. Yeah, the first ability when it's discarded, all can hit anything, but the dull part is what limits you, right? And Black Vault 2 has the same discard ability, but when it's on the board for 0, you can discard a Black Mage from your hand. When you do so, choose a forward your opponent controls, deal it 5k, right? So he kills things at 9k, ideally, right? If you have them all in your hand or whatever. Like, that's kind of the... I'm not saying that the whole deck is going to revolve around having multiples, and the Black Mage, engine has been around for a while, never been completely utilized because discarding or playing or tossing multiple Black Mages is usually the cost for those, right? But this one is going to be is strong enough with one of the other ones to kill at least something 9k, which is a good range, right? Obviously, the damage is broken up, and so stuff like Minwu or anything that reduces damage less than their power, or with that Minwu passive ability, it's not going to work. And the legendary, Lightning Legendary, when Black Vault 3 is discarded from your hand, also does 4k, but when he's on the field, put from the field of the break zone, choose up to 2 Black Mages other than Black Vault 3 in your break zone and add them to your hand. So recursion is nice. And then when he's on the field, you can, for 0, discard a Job Black Mage from your hand. When you do so, choose a forward of cost 3 or less your opponent controls and break it, right? So again, there's a lot of potential here for some of these effects. The main thing you should note from these, right, is there is no limit to how many times you can discard of one of these per turn, right? It says discard 1 Job Black Mage from your hand. When you do so, choose a forward your opponent controls and X ability, right? So it's either 7k to a duel, 5k to a forward, or choose a forward of 3 or less your opponent controls break it, right? Now, these abilities, as long as you're discarding a Job Black Mage from your hand, you can do it multiple times a turn. So, yes, it will cost you to get rid of stuff, but they have multiple effects, and if you need to escape a really bad situation, this does that for you, right? Just keep those things in mind when you, in the future, when you're building, or just if you haven't thought of that stuff, that's where these cards are. Next, we have these bad boys. Now, again, I'll blame it on Elden Ring, but these were the card of the week from the last couple of weeks, right? We have the Wool, Kirin, and Zidane, which is the most recent one, but these are all very strong cards, 2 L's and a hero, so let's start with the Wool. The cost required to Wool is reduced by 1 for each character of cost 5 or more you control. It cannot become 0, right? So this includes monsters, backups, forwards, etc., right? The forwards of cost 5 or more, other than Wool you control, gain this forward cannot be chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities. And when you cast a character of cost 5 or more, draw a card. This effect will only trigger once per turn. So, Wind is already such a powerful element. I always find it's always relevant every set. But an effect, a card like this is just absurd in my opinion. It's very rare that this card will be cost 5, right? So it's a 4K even at the minimum, right? Like when you search it with something, it's 4-drop 9K that gives protection to your other big guys, and then draws you cards and stuff. So a lot of really strong effects. The warrior, the wool name doesn't really matter because it's never gonna fit in a wool deck. Being as this is a warrior of dawn job class, and Mobius, wind, forward, cap, 5 cost, and Mobius is all searchable, right? So it's like this card's gonna be really easy. My ideas for this one is gonna be like Versatile probably is the quickest one that jumps into it, but anything wind earth like big things is gonna be ridiculous too. There's already things like the Krish, the Mobius that we got, I think it was last set or 2 sets ago, the dual color one that lets you bring in multiple things, brings in something of 5 or more, and things like that. Plus, you have some of the best backups that are 5 or more, like Tyro, Star Sybil, and then there's already like Mobius cards that are bigger than this too. So I don't know. There's a lot of potential for this card. This card is just good. Bismarck is an absurd card. Even the new what's her name? Garuda also, right? Like, so if you pair this with Garuda as well, like you'll be drawing 2 cards, I believe, if they try to bring in. No, never mind. It's 2 separate triggers, right? But there's the potential to draw 2 cards, not in the same turn, but as the turns progress, right? So let's keep in mind that the main idea about this game now is drawing 3 to 4 cards per turn, and that's how you stay ahead. So this card is definitely going to be doing that for you. Zidane, finally he's getting that Tantalus member. I've never seen this art, by the way. This is City of Final Fantasy art, so it's very funny and interesting to see him like that. 2-drop 5K. When Zidane is field or attacks, your opponent removes the top card of their deck from the game. You can cast it as though you owned it at any time, and you could normally cast. The cost for casting can be paid using CP of any element. When Zidane enters the field, if you have cast 3 or more cards, Zidane gains haste until the end of the turn. So a 2-drop 2. So let's compare these abilities, right? So this is a hero, as is Lonnie and as is Mind Flayer. When Lonnie enters, it does the same thing, but it's 2 less and can be paid with any CP of any color. Mind Flayer is a 4, steals something and plays it for free. And then Zidane does the same. When he enters, your opponent removes the top part of the deck. You can cast it those you own at any time. You normally cast it. So this one keeps it like Lonnie, and the costs can be paid with CP of any element. So I'm looking at a fire, water, wind, and I steal all your cards. I do think the combination between this card and any of those other cards might get really annoying. And I'm concerned. I'm still going to stand by the idea that Mind Flayer will eventually get banned. But this guy's pretty cheeky already, so he's going to be fun. Will he replace the other Zidanes? I think he could, actually. I think this is a very strong card. He's cheaper. He can start off turn 1. Like, if you draw nothing else, his turn 1 play is really good. So keep that in mind. Now the Kirin, legendary. Brave, cannot become dull by your opponent's summons abilities. Category 11, by the way. The job Shijin, forwards you control, gain 1000 power. When Kirin enters the field, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Play a forward of cost 4 among them onto the field and return the others to the bottom of the deck. So the Shijins, I don't have them in this video, but they're like these category 11 creatures that like search each other and can be paid with any element. So he buffs them from 7K to 8K, I believe, or is it 8K to 9? I forget. But I don't know if as a standalone card he might be decent. As a sealed event card, he's pretty decent, right? 9K cannot become dull by summon's abilities, and Brave. I mean, like, even in sealed, right? Like, him and the whole Shijins would be a good card. Outside of this, I don't know. The deck itself, idea so far, doesn't give me too much. But the fact that you can play them with any colors once one of them is in the break zone, and each one searches another one, is kind of like an engine, right? The best idea is to have that as the foundation, and then like add what like pieces you think are going to make your deck work, right? Because that's all going to work out on its own. So I don't know if it'll get much more, but being that it's an 11, it has already a good backup line, and that's pretty much a lot. It's asking for a lot when it comes to building a deck, so it's important. Now we're going to go into some ice cards. We're kind of trying to keep things a little organized this time, so we did the black wallets, the card of the weeks, and then now we're going to do some ice stuff. We have Shulk, Shiva, and YKT. This one, I believe, is TCG Tacos' spoiler. The power of the forge you control cannot be decreased by your opponent's summons or abilities, and the power of the forge your opponent controls cannot be increased by your opponent's summons abilities. So it kind of protects you and doesn't let them buff, which is nice. And then for an S, you can choose any number of auto abilities, cancel their effect. I love this S. It's like that. It's a little weaker than Jet's S, but it's still anything on the stack, right? So when multiple things trigger, it'll just stop all of that. Very good. I like it. If you haven't noticed too, the upsetting part is that its Shulk is normally Cat 7, and this isn't 7, it's only WAF. When we have stuff like the Zidane still getting, that we just saw have the City of Final Fantasy like tags, it's strange that this one didn't get the 7 tag. Next is the Shiva, another Shiva. I really wish, I don't know how many more ice summons there are, but I think we can do something else with Shiva, and you know, maybe we should move into that. I think there's been a Shiva like every other set, or if not every set for a while. Like, there's a lot of Shivas, right? Choose a dual forward, break it. If you cast Shiva's POC of 3 or more different elements, your opponent discards a card from their hand. I think this is the motif going for all of these summons, if it's paid with more or less, more than 3 colors, I think. And it has to do with 3 colors, right? Like, that's the concept over there. Good for sealed, I suppose, and drafting, but I don't know if this will make it into the other Shiva, like into the Ice Shiva package. There's so many other ones like the EX and the new 1-drop and stuff, but just breaking it forward is nice. Just don't know if it'll make it. And then YK63, when he enters the field, choose a forward, dull it, and freeze it. If your opponent has 1 card or less in their hand, break it instead. Which is solid, right? And then for 1 CP, look at the top card, top 3 cards of your deck. Return these to the top and or bottom of your deck in any order. That's a decent effect, but I don't think this one will make it even in the Go-Go deck with like manipulation. So I hope the monsters do a little better than this set. Now we have Yunaluska. It's a full art. I'm really excited about this one. She's an ice summoner backup. You can tap her, discard a card. Your opponent discards a card from their hand. You can only use this ability during your turn and once per turn. So action ability that lets you that you discard a card for to get your opponent discard a card. We don't have that so much anymore, so this is a pretty interesting card. But it's very nice at the very least. It's gonna be pricey, I'm sure, because of the art. So it should be fun. Onion Knight, Sage, Warrior of Light. Again, see the City of Final Fantasy and Cat 3. When Onion Knight enters the field, discard 2 cards and then draw 2 cards. It is a very decent effect, but it's even better when you don't have any cards because you'll just draw 2 cards. So it replays itself. And Rain, EX Burst. When Rain enters the field, choose a forward your opponent controls. If a forward you controlled has been put from the field in the break zone, deal it 9k. I don't think we need more Rains, but he's not half bad, I guess. He does work in an EX deck, and that might change things for Knights, maybe. But nah, he's okay. He's a weird card. 5 for 9, though. I think we still like the other Rain better. And now we have another Cloud, another Vaughn, and another Luneth. I really wish they would stop printing all cards with the same names. But anyway, this Cloud is a backup. He has some decent effects. Choose a forward, deal 5k, choose a 7 forward in your break zone, add it to your hand. And then choose a forward without the duplicate symbol you control, and search for a forward with the same name and add it to your hand. So, very interesting choice of effects. Again, his problem is that he's a Cloud, right? Being that he can... I don't know any category 7 focus decks that don't revolve around Cloud exactly, or playing a Cloud, so he wouldn't fit in there. So unless they do that in the future for other, for other stuff, then I know we have a new Zach coming up, and that's like in another, I think it's going to be in the next video, but still, you're going to need a Cloud, I'm sure. So yeah, that's my problem with this card. And another full art Vaughn. So this was 3 Vaughns, 3 sets, from 2 legendaries to a rare, 2 of them which were full arts. When Vaughn enters the field, this one's a backup, so I guess that's different, right? When Vaughn enters the field, choose a forward your opponent controls, deal it 3,000 damage. If you have cast 3 or more cards this turn, deal it 8,000 damage instead, and then choose a forward, deal it 7k for an S and tap. Not that great, but I guess the art's pretty cool, right? This is, I can't read the full name, but Samu's new art. So, and this Luneth, I believe, along with the, what was his name? The Raijin Kirin, is new character illustration from Toshitaka Matsuda. So, 2-drop Warrior of Light. At the beginning of the attack phase, during each of your turns, select one of the following 2 actions. Choose a Warrior of Light other than Luneth until the end of the turn. It gains 1,000 power, haste, and first strike. And then choose a forward, deal 1,000 for each drop Warrior of Light fire character you control. Now, the first effect is cool. I like this Luneth over playing the other Luneths now. Being that he's more playable, and we need to have Ferris on, I think he'll find a nice place in a Warrior of Light deck. But his second ability, choose a forward, deal it 1,000 for each job Warrior of Light fire character you control. Okay, never mind. 1,000 for each job Warrior of Light. So that includes backups too. That's nice. Okay, it's a little better than I thought. Yeah, Warrior of Light stuff mostly, which is cool. We'll hopefully we can figure that out this set. Hopefully this set might push it a little more. I don't think this card or the light one we'll talk about later as well is good enough, but next is Leslie. We're in the Earth cards now. We did Ice, Fire, and now we're treading the Earth stuff. At the beginning of the main phase 1, during each of your turns, choose 2 forwards you control. If you control a forward of an element other than Earth, break them and list them. At the end of each of your turns, you may give control of Leslie to your opponent. So you play him, it doesn't matter, right? At the end of each of your turns, you may give him control of Leslie. You give him to your opponent. At the beginning of their main phase 1, during each their turns, they have to choose 2 forwards. If you control a forward of an element other than Earth, break them. So he pretty much just takes 2 forwards with him, doesn't let them target, right? Like, it's them choosing them, so it's a good trap. The downside is that if they have Earth forwards, like, it's not that great, but also if they're full on backups, you can't play this, right? Like, it's still a solid, like, removal, and I guess playing multiple of them might be interesting, but I don't think Earth needed more control cards. But hey, that's just me. Cactuar, choose a forward, break it. If the cost to cast Cactuar was paid with CP of 2 or less different elements, Cactuar deals you a point of damage. That's not that great. That's such a weird effect. And then a new Sophie, Wild Rider, Mobius. Sophie deals damage to a forward due to an ability, double that damage instead, which is cool. We haven't seen an effect like that in a while. When you cast a character of cost 5 or more, choose a forward your opponent controls, deal damage equal to Sophie's power. Oh, it's interesting. This might go with that wool a little bit. So there's some Earth, Water, Earth, Wind synergy, Mobius synergy there. That's cool. This effect will only trigger once per turn. Well, that's pretty good, We like these so far. We have Heretic Knight Garland, full art. There's another Mobius Matsuda art. Brave, when Heretic Knight Garland enters the field, choose a forward other than Garland you control, and as long as Garland is on the field, it gains 4,000 power and brave. That's pretty cool. And for 2 earth and 2 colorless, dull Heretic Knight Garland, gains Heretic Knight cannot be broken until the end of the turn. That's cool. So as long as you keep him alive, the other guy is pretty strong, right? So yeah, giving something 4K and brave forever is while he's out is pretty strong. Just for some funny ideas, just give it to you know, General Leo, and your opponent has to block or something. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. It should be fun. I might like that card. Might be worth something. Give this to a Ned, or even Braska or something. I don't know. Or something that doesn't die, right? Like Marsh, one of those marshes, or Lednar, I think it is. I don't know. Weird things there. But he's pretty cool. He's pretty cool for a rare. And then Chaos. This is the Dark Legendary and the Dark Hero. The cost required to cause Chaos is reduced by 2 for each element among characters your opponent controls. When a Chaos enters the field, your opponent selects a forward other than Light or Dark they control, you gain control of it. And you can tap it to put a character you control owned by your opponent into the break zone and choose a forward and break it. So he's got a bunch of effects. Off the bat, when I first saw this, I was really excited about it. And he's obviously like, he's interesting in my opinion because I feel like he almost answers stuff as just really one card in a weird way. Like he answers Shantoto, and he answers the reset of a game, right? Like when your opponent usually casts Shantoto, it's usually because you like, you know, they're trying to set up still, or you've gone really wide. And this card says, you know, so we all understand the effect, right? The cost required to cast Chaos is reduced by 2 for each element among characters your opponent controls, right? So, you know, Shantoto is all elements. So he is reduced for each one. So I believe he's free at that point, right? Ice, earth, fire, water, wind, ice. Yeah, that's 12. So he's actually free. So it's very interesting in that regard. And then when, you know, and then you'll take a forward from them, right? Like you obviously don't play at that same, obviously you wait for them to put a forward out, but still, it's just a good card. I think it's very interesting. How often were we going to play it? I don't know yet. Are we going to, you know, try to play this in a bunch of weird decks where you summon the top card of your deck with like Setzer and, you know, Golbez and stuff like that? Yeah, maybe. Why not? Play him, play Renoa, steal 2 things. Who knows? And Twintania, which I like, is interesting. Twintania is also a monster in all situations. Twintania enters the field dull. When Twintania enters the field or active Twintania becomes dull, place a Giga Flare counter on Twintania. At the beginning of main phase 1, during each of your turns, remove one counter. When you do so, choose a forward your opponent controls until it's 7k. So this card always threatens like to kill something if it's not big enough, which is very nice, and it's very, very, very annoying. I like this card a lot. I think this is the best monster we've gotten in a long time. I honestly think throwing him in just about any deck might be decent. And I say that because, you know, first of all, everybody has a way to deal like 1 or 2k damage now. Very easily and comfortably, right? Like, I do believe so, right? So fire, water have the twins now, or anything with those have those, right? Or not deal damage, but like even to reduce enough. You know, in wind you have Bismarck. In ice you have, I can't remember who does it, but I know they have like a few cards, right? And we can go on. Like, I know Lightning has a bunch of them. So leaving him on the board allows you to, it almost prevents your opponent from summoning anything for a while, because you're just gonna say get the hell out, right? And it kind of, I know it's a 2-drop monster and that's not a big deal, but he's 8k, so he's pretty strong and he's stable. He's not gonna attack the first turn or whatever. He comes in dull or whatever, so he can't block. He's not gonna protect you, but he's gonna protect you for the rest of the game. So I really do like this card overall, and just, it's absurd. I don't know. I think that's it for this episode, guys. We covered a lot. So we went over fire, you know, a few random cards, you know, the Waltz and the card of the weeks, ice, fire, and some earth cards that we've seen. I think in the next episode we're going to go over wind, water, and lightning. and the light card that's been shown. So thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully I didn't make this one too long, but I will see you on the next one. And let me know which one of these is your favorite card so far, and if any of the ideas I spat out here stuck with you. Anyway, thanks for listening. See you on the next one.